All right, now we welcome in Tim Legler, my partner on the All NBA show and our Inside Access segment powered by Verizon. New customers can get up to $800 in a prepaid MasterCard to pay off your current smartphone loan when you make the switch. All right, Legs. So the Denver Nuggets, they're one of those teams that's just in a jumble right now. 17 and 13. They're currently the 7 seed. A couple wins, they'll be the 2 seed. A couple losses, they'll be the 12 seed. It's just a jumble right now in the West. But I want to start by asking you about Jamal Murray because he had a really nice game against Detroit over the weekend. And he goes to the podium and he talks about, I always start slow. Do you guys not remember this? I always start slow. Why are you freaking out? And I sit here and I think the Nuggets could be a 2 seed right now if he didn't start slow. So I'm just curious, is it a thing that there's just some players that ease their way into the season? And do you think that is, what do you make of it when a player comes out and says, that's what I do. I start slow every year.
I don't know. I mean, look, I think it's just a player that's identifying for whatever reason. And I don't think he wants to start slow. I mean, who doesn't want to get out of the gate red hot? To me, it sets up your whole season, especially if you're a scorer. Jamal Murray's a scorer. Your scorers getting out of the gate quick in the month of November, you kind of set up your scoring average for the year, really. I mean, it's really kind of how it goes, as opposed to like digging your way out later. It's the same thing in like baseball. There are guys that notoriously come out of spring training, cannot get a hit for the first 20 games of the season. And then, you look up at the end of the year and they have their normal, like typical, all-star stats. And so Jamal Murray identifying that in himself, for whatever reason, that's the case. And look, I'm going to ask you, you've been there his entire career. Is it true? Have you always felt that way about Jamal Murray?
It's true. Are you saying, is it true that he starts slow?
Yes.
It's every year. I mean, I think there's actually some numbers here. I'm pulling them up for his career. In the month of October.
I didn't dive into it that deeply to see like what exactly, to what extent is he talking about? So what is he talking about? Like the month of November, basically? Is that what he's saying? Like typically for
him? In October, he's averaging 14.6 points per game for his career. November, 16.3. December, 17.3. And then January, February, March, that number is 18.5, 19. So it kind of climbs all the way till January, where he kind of reaches his career, which is around a 19 point per game scorer. But, right on cue, though, Legs, his last 7 games, he's averaging 25 a game, 48, 44, 90 splits, been pretty efficient. So right on cue, we're about to flip to January, and he's playing his best basketball here recently. So knowing that then, when you watch Denver, do you feel like they're a team that has a big run in them, or do you feel like they're a team with tragic flaws?
Well, I'm concerned right now about their inability to stop people. Like when they play high-powered teams, and you saw it against Cleveland really on full display, but a lot of teams have had that problem with Cleveland. I understand that. But it's not just Cleveland for Denver. Their defense, to me, is a bigger concern. Their offense is going to be good enough. And look, they've still got a guy that is so great offensively in the way he controls the game in Jokic. It's going to give you a chance every single night. And some nights, he's just so great, it'll overcome any deficiencies your team has, whether it's depth or shooting or defense. He's that good. He can do it some nights practically by himself. But when they get him and Murray and Porter playing well on the same night, yes, this is still a team, man, that's going to be a lot to deal with. They have had an incredibly uneven season. I mean, their schedule to this point, we just look at the way they've played all year. It's kind of the definition of like mediocrity. They've had one winning streak. One legitimate streak. They won 5 straight games, like early in the year. Everything else has been win 1, lose 1, win 2, lose 2, win 1, lose 1. The whole year has been like that. And so it's never, but to this, I think I'm right in saying this. I don't think they've lost 3 games in a row yet.
I don't know if they have. Yeah.
I don't think they've lost 3 straight. So whatever deficiencies they have a stopgap, I feel like, in Nikola Jokic and in their offense to keep this thing from ever sliding too far in that direction. That's a good thing. Bad thing is, will they be able to figure out how to become better defensively or at least good enough defensively that their offense will give them a chance, like a legitimate chance against the top feeders in the conference? And that's what we're talking about. You're not comparing Denver with anybody else other than the top teams. And I think in the West, it's really specifically Oklahoma City. Like that's the team because you want to win a championship if you have Jokic. You already won one. You want more. You're not trying to be a good team. You want to win a championship. So that's the gauge. OKC and Boston, and hey, maybe even Cleveland now, the way that they're playing. So for me, how do you close that gap, Adam? How do they do that without making personnel changes between now and the trading deadline?
Well, Nikola Jokic had an interesting thing because not only has their season been uneven, up and down, but as has been the case with a lot of NBA teams this year, it's been spread out. 2 games in 1 week, then the following week, two more games. And Jokic was asked about it the other day. They're 5-0, or 5-0 or 6-0 on back-to-backs this year. And he was asked about it. He said, yeah, I wouldn't mind if we had 82 games in a row. Just get the season out of the way. Everything's a back-to-back in 82 games. And he's being tongue-in-cheek, but I do think Jokic has always been a rhythm player. He seems to like when there's a lot of games. And I just wonder if you as a player, I think most people prefer the rest, but do you think there's anything to 1 game a week, 2 games in a week is harder than 4 games in a week when you just go every other night and you have a rhythm to your schedule?
Oh, you could have same thing. You could have come at me rapid fire. Give me 5 and 7 nights. We did some of that when I played. Like I loved it. But listen, whether you're hot, if you're hot and you're shooting it well and you're in rhythm, please give me more games. I don't want 2 or 3 days at any point off where you're just going through practice and like whatever. And no, man, just give me the rhythm of the game. And if you're not hot, give me more games. That's the only way to get back on track. Because reps matter when you're struggling. If your offense isn't clicking, yeah, reps matter. The extra work matters. Nothing is going to get you back on track other than going out there and doing it in a game. So you want them to come at you faster. I always felt that way. The mentality around it is all changed a little bit. So I hear you right now. The interesting thing for me with this team is Jokic is like the numbers he's putting up in the season that he is having right now. It's as good or better than any year he's had, right? I mean, but yet but you always looked at him during the MVP years as like, this is a team that potentially could win the whole thing. And yet here he is doing the exact same things he's always done, even maybe better, you could say, but you don't feel the same way about their team. It's really the first time here over the last 4 or 5 years you've kind of felt that way about them. And now the question is going to be, how do they tighten up the margins around that to make us believe in them more? They're still over 500, but it doesn't have the same vibe that it has had for the last several years.
What have you seen from Russell Westbrook with Denver? And are you concerned that, I mean, he obviously was horrible in the playoffs last year. Are you concerned that no matter how good he is with Denver in the regular season, the playoffs, he'll be, a mark that they don't have to guard?
Yeah, I mean it's a big strategy right now going forward. And look, I just saw this, by the way, on Christmas Day with Caleb Martin, and he ended up making 7 of them. And I don't know that Westbrook's going to be a threat to do that because it's just not a good shot for him. It's not a good opportunity for him. It's just not. I think personally he's brought an awful lot to this team. I think the speed, the energy, the determination, how hard he plays, the athleticism, I think it's all stuff that Denver needed. So I think he's been really good for them, but that component isn't going away. And that will be something that could potentially be exposed in the playoffs. Yeah, so that could be a big factor for them down the road.
He is Tim Legler. You can catch him 4 times a week live on the All NBA show with myself, me and Legs, going back and forth 4 times a week. Really great show. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. Thanks so much, Legs.
Appreciate you, Adam.